having me on, John. For me, though, I think the one thing that I believe deeply and I practice that most people don't believe is that all areas of my life are all intertwined. For example, I just can't be good at business. I have to have everything else in my life in sync to be the best me possible and to win in every area of my life.
Fire Nation, I'm a big believer in bringing people like Steve on the show and sharing how is he a little polarizing? How's he a little different? How's he a little maybe controversial in certain things? How's he maybe doing things differently? Because living your life inside the box ain't going to get you to where you want to be, faux show. And we're talking about things along these lines today with adapt and overcome, how to tactically evolve for success. In Fire Nation, I can assure you it's not by being a sheep and following the herd. So let's talk about evolving, Steve. Why is evolution important in all areas of our lives?
Well, John, I really think that evolution is so important because I believe we're all here to become the best possible selves that we can create. My best possible self is not the same as anyone else's. I'm a unique individual, but by me continuing to evolve and get better each day, I'm able to excel in all areas. One area that I completely dive into the evolution part, and not just for me and my businesses, but actually for industries. I always look to go into industries where people are stuck to the status quo, where they've been kind of doing things the way they always have, and they just do that because that's how everybody else's function. And that's very, very important to me to be able to disrupt things, if you will, to be able to make change and constantly becoming better and evolving as both a human being and both as a business owner are just of the utmost importance to me.
So maybe give us an example of something that you've recently evolved in, like with your own area of your life. Because, for us, perfect balance is impossible, man. It's like when the business is perfect or as near perfect as you can get, maybe your health is let go, or maybe your finances, or maybe your relationships. Like there's always these different balancing acts. So what's one area that you've recently kind of evolved in that you're like, oh yeah, that needed a little focus?
Well, there's been just a ton for me, a ton of change going on lately. So I'm 48 years old, and one change for me has been to changing how I work out and how I eat. Now, what worked for me 5 years ago does not work now. I've beat up my body for a long time, doing a lot of things I probably shouldn't, which has finally caught up to me. But being able to evolve and being able to listen to myself and listen to my body, and to some days go harder than others, some days go lighter, and just change up what I do based on how I feel and based upon what I believe I can do, makes all the difference. On the business side, is another area that evolution is completely important. When we're going into a couple different new ventures, and we're really looking at those of what are we going to do now, and how can we change that in a year from now, and how can we change that in 3 years, to basically have an evolution plan, if you will, so that we know where we're going. And much like typing the address in a GPS doesn't do you much good unless you know where you're going. So the evolution is very planned and very methodical. So it's not just, hey, I'm getting better. It's I'm choosing how I get better, and I'm choosing what areas of my life I want to attack at each given time.
Focus is one of my favorite acronyms. Follow one course until success. I mean, I actually have a sign in my office here that I'm looking at right now that says just that. I mean, it's just very powerful for me. So let's talk about the area that you believe is the most important area to focus on first for us entrepreneurs.
Well, for us, I think the area we need to focus on first is probably the area as entrepreneurs we neglect most. We're always in our business. We're always thinking business. We're always wondering what the next step is, what the next thing, how to evolve, how to get to the next place we want to be, whether it's a dollar figure or a location number, or for me, it's chasing freedom, just to be able to not be tied to specific times, places, things, and be able to kind of live my life as I want to. I'll always want to work. I love what I do, but being able to have more freedom and chase those sorts of things. But the first focus for me has to be at home. It has to be my wife. It has to be. It was more so my kids. Well, I'm empty nesting now. We just actually hit empty nesting. I just was married for 25 years, and all our kids now are out on their own. So that's been a transition and an evolution of my marriage in a great way. But really needing to get things solid on the home front. no matter what that looks like for somebody. Everybody's different. Some people are married, some aren't even in a relationship, but then it's focusing on yourself. But making sure the foundational things of you as a human being and those relationships that are most important to you of family are solid before trying to build something really huge as far as business goes.
So Fire Nation, I hope in your life you're looking at the areas that matter most and you're focusing on those and you're kind of tackling that one priority level at a time. And I want to move into core values, Steve. How do they fit into this equation that we're talking about here?
For me, and this has been a recent, speaking of evolutions, this has been a recent change of view. One of my mentors and coaches, Thomas Keenan, is real big on core values, and we really went into a thing and dove in real deeply on them, and it basically established them for myself, established them for my family with the help of my wife, but then also established them for each of our different businesses. And they're different. They all have different little core values. They're all not the same industries. So I'm in everything from the firearms industry to security and investigations to IT security and support. So all the businesses are a little different, but we put core values into play the same way in all of them. So it's real important for us to establish, as leaders, to establish those core values, lay out what they are. And for example, Sheepdog Firearms, our brick and mortar firearms stores, our core values are passion. We are driven to excellence in everything we do. Real. We are who we say we are, and we do what we say we will do. We're thoughtful. Our compassion is our greatest asset, and we're welcoming. Everyone is invited to be part of our family. So those things we use to drive not only the in-store experience for our customers, we use those to drive our hiring, we use those to drive our firing, and basically it's a lens we look at all things we do through. So whether or not we're doing them right or wrong, these are what we use to judge, so there are no gray areas. Either they fit into these things or they don't. And we take that to the extent that even when we're coaching some of our employees, managers, when we're showing them some things that they could do a little better or showing them our direction, it all focuses back on these core values, so that when we do that, we make our expectations completely clear. We all maintain a laser focus on how we want to do things, and we empower people to make decisions that they may not know the right answer, but they can apply this litmus test to the situation and they can immediately make the right decision, probably 98% of the time, that would align with the same decision I or one of my partners would have made.
So Fire Nation, while you're listening to Steve here, I hope you're thinking about, what are my core values? How do they fit into my equation? How am I tactically evolving for success? And we're going to be talking about adapting and overcoming. We're going to be talking about your definition of success and much, much more, Fire Nation, when we get back from thanking our sponsors. If you're a coach or offer consulting services for your business, then you know one of the most common reasons people don't take the leap into investing in your services is due to a lack of funds. If you're looking to help your clients with funding in as little as 5 to 7 business days, then Lending America can help. Lending America is one of the leading U.S. funding companies, having secured over $1 billion for clients at 0% in 2019. At Lending America, every customer receives a free underwriting consultation to go over their credit report. Then, if approved, they'll also get to work with an underwriter who will show them how to get things done with the least amount of time and money wasted. The process is easy, fast, and Lending America will guide your clients every step of the way. If you're selling a service of $10,000 or more, then Lending America can help your clients get capital for 0% to pay for your services in as little as 7 to 10 days. Visit eofire.com/lending for more details and for service disclaimers. Listen up, Fire Nation. Are you spending too much time on payroll? What if I said there's a way to run payroll in under a minute? Meet Roll by ADP. Roll is the first chat-based payroll app designed for small businesses. It takes on those tedious tasks like automatically calculating withholding and filing your payroll taxes. You'll even get a reminder when it's time to pay. Sounds insanely easy, right? Plus, Roll is backed by the expertise and security of ADP, so you know your business is in good hands. Using Roll is seriously as easy as sending a text. Just download the app, chat, and pay your people ASAP. Need help? Send a message to get 24/7 live chat assistance and step-by-step guidance. Roll is here for you whenever and wherever you need it. Ready to roll? Check out rollbyadp.com/fire to download the Roll by ADP app and get your first 3 months free. That's rollbyadp.com/fire. Are you looking for a platform that's easy for your entire team to use and that also helps your business grow better? HubSpot is a CRM platform that's built to help businesses from startup to enterprise with tools and features teams actually use. Instead of wasting time trying to manage your software, what if you were actually uncovering customer data insights like the average time it takes your team to close a sale? HubSpot is here to make your work life easier with things like their Sales Hub. HubSpot's sales software ties all your data and tools together in one intuitive, easy-to-use platform so that you can close more deals without more tools. And their Marketing Hub, where you can build your entire marketing funnel to attract and convert more leads while keeping your sales team in the loop every step of the way. These are just a couple of the ways HubSpot eliminates friction, empowering your team to do their best work. Learn how HubSpot can make it easier for your business to grow better at HubSpot.com. So Steve, you love the phrase adapt and overcome. Why do you love these words?
Those words are just so important to me because as I started out as an entrepreneur and just in business in general, that really resonated with me. I've read it in a couple different places, couple different books, heard it used a lot, different movies and TV shows. But for me, adapt and overcome, just rings so true because if you want to get past an obstacle, sometimes you can just go crashing through it, but oftentimes you have to figure out how to get around it, and you have to figure out how to do things a little differently than you used to, a little differently than you've taught. Sometimes it's more efficiently, sometimes it's just better, and sometimes it's just completely think out of the box. That phrase was so important to me. I actually just had an Amazon best-selling book, and that was actually the title of the book was Adapt and Overcome. And in it, I dive pretty deep into how I teach other businesses and how I do business with the things that I'm involved in to basically differentiate yourself. There are so many entrepreneurs that will go into business and they will just think of, okay, well, this business is doing something successfully. I think I can do it too. So I'm going to do it exactly the same way they do. Instead of taking a look at the industry as a whole and saying, hey, these people do this well, these people do this poorly, there's a gap here. Like for example, so some of the industries we've went into has been completely, I won't say by accident, but we had no intention, like firearms, for example. I was a hunter as a child and always been into guns a little bit, but never ever thought of getting into the industry. Well, we had some customers that actually came up to us from another business, come up to us and said, hey, you know what? This is a frustration. Do you guys know of any good gun shops around? I said, well, why? What's the issue? And they dove pretty deep into the fact that, well, the same thing you're going to see, at least around here in Chicagoland, and I would argue to say it's probably the same everywhere else in the United States here, is you walk into a typical gun shop and you're going to see typically three things. You're going to see some dark hues on the walls. Often it's paneling typically decorated with some dead animals. You're going to see a lot of glass cases that have all the guns in it, so you can't touch anything. And you're going to see two grumpy guys behind the counter that are going to explain to you how much of a privilege it is that you're even able to shop there. So we saw that going on, and we're like, man, nobody is really even focusing on giving people what they want. You look at most other industries and they're really adapting and they're really changing and they're really listening to their customers. Well, we found that the firearms industry, especially at a retail level, just did not seem to really care about what customers wanted. So we said, hey, you know what? Can we do this better? Let's open up a little test here. And there was another unit next to one of our offices available. So we said, hey, you know what? We're just going to open up a gun shop and we're going to try this, and we're going to try this concept, and we're going to see if it works. Well, what we did was we made it so that people could walk up and touch every firearm. We made it so that our employees we hired were trained not to be grumpy. We hired people from outside the industry so that had the passion for firearms, but did not have a lot of the bad habits that they probably would have had from other places. And then we're going to say, well, we will just be open by appointment and kind of see how that goes. Well, a week into it, things just took off. People came and saw how different it was. They told everybody. And this was about 5 years ago. And the store just completely took off to now we actually have a second location where we actually took that whole concept to 2.0, if you will. We tried to make kind of the Apple store of gun shops. There's no front counter. There's not a single glass case. Everything, and while it's tethered, so it can't be stolen. Everything is touchable by the customer. There's no pressure. We don't have any registers or whatever that are like in a row, on a front counter. Everything's built into a lot of the cabinetry and whatnot. So it really creates an inviting experience, and there's no barriers between our employees coming alongside customers wherever they are, whether they're new to the industry or whether they've been shooting guns for 30, 40 years, comes alongside them, meets them where they are, and educates them and helps them make a buying decision. That's no pressure. It's an inviting environment. So adapt and overcome to me means making things better, moving things forward, not just for yourself, but also for industries as a whole, like we try to do for the firearms industry.
So listening to you, Steve, talk about this, I love it because it reminds me of a recent conversation I had with Brian Scooterman of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And he had such a similar experience in the junk business where it was like you had to have junk removed from your house, from your home, from your property. It'd be people that'd be showing up. They'd be, mishmashing clothes. They'd be rude. They'd be late. They'd be tramping dirt and mud and, dog poop into your home without a second thought. And he's like, this could just be so much better. And he created what, is now the uniform and the protocols, and they're going to put on little booties before they walk into your house so they're not tramping in all the crap from outside, and they're going to care about this stuff. And, it's going to be professional and timely. And it's called disrupting, Fire Nation. You can disrupt industries when you do it the right way, and then you can have success. And now on that word success, how would you, Steve, define success?
Well, success for me may very well be a little different than what other people think. For me, I can break down what I would equivalent success to in one simple word, and for me, that's freedom. For some people, it's I want to get to $1 billion in sales. I want to make X amount of dollars. I'm not so much focused on that. I love business, and I, of course, love, like anyone else, love making money and love having a successful businesses. But for me, it's freedom. So freedom to be able to not be tethered to a particular location or a particular thing. Freedom to, if talk to my wife and say, hey, you know what, let's jump on a plane and let's go for a weekend here or go for a weekend there. We spend a lot of time in Mexico, love it there. Just to be able to do that and be able to kind of live life on my terms. I see so many people, even in the entrepreneurial space, that work very hard and are very good at what they do. But then they get to the point we're at now, empty nesting. They don't know who their spouse are. They hardly know their kids. They're not living life on their terms. They just basically made themselves a job and a 100-hour-a-week job. And they don't even understand what they're even chasing anymore or why they're even doing what they're doing. And they get to be, 60, 65 years old, 70 years old. And then they look back at their life and say, well, what did I do? What legacy did I leave? How did I live? So for me, really focused on freedom, and then really focused on the legacy play of, hey, what will be said of me when I'm gone? What am I going to leave this world? What good can I do? How can I positively impact things and people? And as I move into this next evolution of myself, speaking back of evolution, is started a thing called the Tactical Entrepreneur Academy, where I'm teaching a lot of these concepts to other people. So I'm able to leave something behind because, it's the old adage of, hey, you can either give someone a fish or you can teach them to fish. Well, certainly love to share all of my past mistakes and all the things that I've learned over the years of doing things poorly because I really didn't have anybody to teach me, and be able to pass that on and be able to do it on my terms and have the freedom I desire for myself and for my family.
I love that whole concept right there, Fire Nation, because for me, success is waking up in the morning, looking at my calendar, or sometimes lack thereof, and everything that's on that is by my choosing, by my choice, by my desire, and being able to do those things that I want to do with the freedom that I want to do it. That's my version of success. Could I work harder? Could I make more money? Of course, but that's not bringing me closer to my definition of success. And so I want you to think about, what is your specific definition of success? It's like, it reminds me of when Lewis Howes one day, like this is years and years ago, asked me to define my perfect day. And like I stuttered and stumbled, like going through like what my perfect day looked like. And he's like, if you can't even define your perfect day, how are you ever going to live one? And I was like, whoa, that's powerful. Now, you started many, many businesses, Steve. Let's go into a couple of the aha moments that led to those businesses. How did you choose each industry?
Well, John, it goes back to kind of what I was talking about in the adapt and overcome. When we're choosing industries, a lot of them have happened by, I won't say by accident, but kind of by, we just kind of stumbled into them. We saw problems and we took and figured out, hey, I can do that better. And a lot of times it was industries that we liked or things that were related. I've had a lot of companies in the different security industries. We've definitely had one in security investigations. We have a cybersecurity one now. We had one in that did cameras, access control, locksmith, all those sorts of things. So they all seem to center around, a lot of them did around security, but really it's just identifying problems in industries and seeing things that we can do better, and really listening to customers and really letting them drive it. So when we identify an industry, the first thing we do is just dive in and go to if it's a restaurant we're looking at opening up, we'll go and eat at a lot of different places that are near there geographically and that we were thinking about opening in, and as well as taking and diving into the strengths and weaknesses of other ones that serve similar food or provide a similar experience, to try to figure out where are those gaps. And the first question we always say, well, is there an opportunity there? Is there a gap? Is there something we can fill? And are there things that customers want that they're not being given right now with the options that are available? And sometimes we'll get the ideas and we'll dive into things and we'll realize, there's not as much of an opportunity here as we would like. There's not as much of a gap that we can exploit. And we'll pass. We'll completely just say, that's a bad idea. Scratch it off the list of potential next projects, and let's look for something else. Often the best opportunities we've had, especially like the firearms industry first, and now getting into custom firearms manufacturing with our new company Valhalla Research that we just launched. Really just looking at the market and seeing what's there as far as opportunities and what can we make better. If we can't make something just so radically better, if we're just going to be making a commodity, we'll pass. I'm sure a lot of other people have had great luck getting into industries but for me and for my team, we only look at things where we can disrupt, things where we can make things better and we can do them well, and we can kind of follow the model that we followed through all our different entries into different industries. So it really focusing on the way we do things and making sure we can continue to do them the way we always have, as far as our method. So we've got things pretty well defined, how we enter, how we market, what kind of opportunities we'll explore, what kind of opportunities we won't. So really just staying true to ourselves and staying true to the things that we know well, and not trying to deviate too far from that. But above all else, it's just really listening to the customer, listening to what people want. I truly believe in any industry, if you listen to what customers want, and if there's some things that they're not getting that are feasible to do, and you can do it, you are going to be very, very successful. And it doesn't matter what industry it is. It's all the same. People want the same things. You look at companies like that are changing things, like, for example, like say, CarMax did at one point, doing things a little bit different, but more recently, like Carvana and some of the others that are completely changing the way you buy cars. I have a good friend that owns a bunch of dealerships in Virginia named Scott Simons, and Scott does some things so dramatically differently with the traditional car experience. Like, I love cars, I'm a car guy, but I hate the experience. I absolutely hate going in there. I feel like just dirty afterwards. Most of the dealerships I've went in mine, it's like, I don't want to spend 4 hours negotiating to try to save myself $500. It's just give me a fair price. Let's make this transaction easy. Get the paperwork ready before I come in and buy a lot more cars. But so many dealers don't get that. So industries like that, where there's really an opportunity to give customers what they want and listen to them, people will be successful, I believe, every single time.
Fire Nation, so many powerful concepts from this. I mean, one of the ones I want to circle back to is, if you're not the number one solution in your industry, you're going to be in a race to the bottom, because people want the number one solution to a real problem that they have. And I love the Seth Godin quote, "The problem with the race to the bottom is you just might win." And who wants to win that race? So Steve, let's take it home, brother. Take the microphone. Give us the one big takeaway you want to make sure Fire Nation walks away with from this entire episode. Talk about your Tactical Entrepreneur Academy, and then we'll say goodbye.
Absolutely. Thanks, John. Well, for me, the one thing I think I want to just repeat because it's so important is really take the time to listen to your customers, whatever industry you're in. Take the time to do something different and really put some thought and effort into it. Don't just make it a small thing. Really just set up yourself to win by listening to those customers and making the experience what they want and what you would want if you were in their shoes. So often as business owners, we try to set up our processes and methods based upon what's easy for us or what seems natural. But like anything else, when you're so close to something, a lot of times you're not clear on it. So listen to your customers. Take some ones that you've had for a while. If you're in a business for a certain amount of time and you have a good customer base, call up a couple of those customers and ask them, say, hey, you know what are we doing well and what can we do better? Give it to me straight. And sometimes you'll be surprised about what you hear, but it's always just pure gold that you can take and learn from and grow and just make your business better. And at the end, make more money and be more successful. So all those sorts of concepts are all things that I teach at the Tactical Entrepreneur Academy. I have a podcast called also by the same title, The Tactical Entrepreneur. And my book, of course, was Adapt and Overcome. I would encourage you to give it a listen, pick up the book. And if there's something that we can help you with, if you resonated with what we have to say here, said here today, I'd love to have a conversation. Hit me up in the DMs. You can certainly go to steveschabacker.com and has all my contact info on it also. But thank you so much, John. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. And this has been listening to your podcast for a long time. And this has always been a dream of mine to be on here. And so happy and thrilled just to make it come true. Just still doesn't seem real.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Steve. You definitely dropped value bombs, brother. You brought the heat because Fire Nation knows they're the average of the 5 people they spend the most time with. And Fire Nation, you've been hanging out with SS and JLD today, so keep up the heat. Head over to eofire.com, type Steve, Steve, in the search bar. His show notes page will pop up with everything we've talked about here today. And again, make sure you check out the Tactical Entrepreneur Academy. Make sure you check out his podcast, The Tactical Entrepreneur, and everything else we've been jamming about today. Steve, thank you for sharing your truth, knowledge, value with Fire Nation today. For that, we salute you, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Hey, Fire Nation. Today's Value Bomb content was brought to you by Steve. And Fire Nation, over the last decade, I've interviewed more than 3,000 of the world's most successful entrepreneurs, and I've created a revolutionary 17-step roadmap to your financial freedom and fulfillment. I put it all into my first traditionally published book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, personally endorsed by Seth Godin and Gary Vaynerchuk. The Common Path to Uncommon Success is the step-by-step guidance that you need to achieve the lifestyle of your dreams. Visit uncommonsuccessbook.com, and I'll catch you there or on the flip side. What's something that every business owner needs to grow and scale, but not a lot have? Funding. If you're looking to fund your business with 0% interest, then Lending America can help. Visit eofire.com/lending for more details and for service disclaimers. Discover the secrets and strategies to turn your content into profit with hosts Luis and Fonzie Camejo as they discuss topics like the how to be nice principle that's costing you a fortune. Listen to Content is Profit wherever you get your podcasts.